choose to walk in the spirit is difficult, dealing with all of the ignorance. But in the Bible, it's still talking about the Bible. What is the benefit? Everything about you counterfeit. There ain't no rebuttal you can counter with. On the internet, you the master teacher. In real life, you powerless. Keep it real with you, I don't have time for this. I ride for this, my forefathers died for this. They cry for this opportunity presently I possess, and right now you are the opposite. If you walk in love, you fulfill the law. Don't get involved and you ain't giving it all. If you ever think it's cool to threaten another man's family, then you already lost. Chemtrails got aluminum, heavy metal saturate the atmosphere. Manhattan Project, time travel, Mandela effect, what happened here? GMO food processing to the whole world become obsolete. A black man who believes in Jesus got my own team taking shots at me. You trespassing on property that you don't fully understand properly. All the back and forth, that's not for me, that's for ROC and the War Machine. If we ride together, then we ride together. If we can't do it, I'd rather leave. I still stand on the word of God till the day I die and no longer breathe. We trapped inside the diaspora, nightmares of the massacre. Cold sweat, I'm below deck in the middle passage, just a passenger. Revolutionary hardcore, liberation, that's a hard job. You ain't ready, you an oddball. Keep your mouth closed like lockjaw. I learned trying to bring people together on the same page, make them separate. All the talk about reconciliation, when the time comes, you hesitate. If Jesus was able to sit at the table with a bunch of sinners, you very fake. Your steps ordered by the Lord, and how it was yesterday, a big mistake. We the city sitting on the hill. Guess it all depends on how you live. Guess it all depends on how you feel, and we both know that ain't God's will. I stood on what I felt was right. I don't never question if God's real. Trapped inside this matrix, I'm about to pop the red and the blue pill.
Bless them which persecute you. Bless and curse not. Rejoice with them that do rejoice, and weep with them that weep. Be of the same mind one toward another. Mind not high things, but condescend to men of low estate. Be not wise in your own conceits. Recompense to no man evil for evil. Provide things honest in the sight of all men. If it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men. Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath. For it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, said the Lord. Therefore, if thine enemy hunger, feed him. If he thirst, give him drink. For in so doing thou shalt heap coals of fire on his head. Be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good. Romans 12:14-21.
Peace, peace, peace. What it is, it's your brother Tyvon Swaino, aka the Orthodox Moor, aka the Seven Pillar Saracen, aka Brother Moore. And today I am pleased to bring to you a DNA dialogue and conversation with the End of the World Ministries and with Minister Teo and Minister Jacob. This was a kind of like a last second conversation or setup. Like we talked about this last night. I went live last night talking about some stuff that was going on in the community. They reached out to me last night, which was really fast. So I'm grateful for them to reach out to me like as quick as they did, because not a lot of people A would have the conversation, but B would reach out as quick as they did. So I appreciate the brothers for coming through and being willing to talk about haplogroups and autosomal DNA, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I definitely want to make sure that they get one, they get credit for coming through. B, they let me know that they thought they got a lot of positions of theirs mischaracterized and misinterpreted, et cetera, and whatnot. So I want to make sure they get as much time as possible to make sure that they get their positions clearly understood by the people and not have them misunderstood in any way, shape, or form. So I appreciate the brothers for coming through for that alone, just so people can be clear about what their position is and clear about what their issues are concerning haplogroups, etc. So with that, I'm going to bring the brothers on. So again, I appreciate y'all brothers for coming through. And like I said, y'all have the floor and we can address whatever you want to, whatever speed y'all want to.
Cool. Salama family, salama. Greetings to everyone, all the Israelite family. Let's put some history on this. So just so you can have an understanding how we are where we are today. So for you all to understand, Jacob and I were out sick for a good while. Jacob had been sick for years. Now, in the midst of all of that, Abu has been harassing Yacoba on Facebook, constantly trying to get him to give him his position on haplogroups. Now, we told both of these guys, we don't believe in haplogroup. We don't believe DNA is valid or useful. We don't follow it. We believe in the curses. Okay. So from our position, we were done. I mean, I don't know why you would want my opinion when I don't think it's valid.
Yeah,
okay,
and useful from a biblical perspective.
What's that?
You said it's not useful, but useful from
a
biblical.
I'm saying useful from identifying who the people of the book are in the latter days. Okay.
I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, just from that context. Okay, so this has been our position, and on top of that, Abu was nonstop bothering us. So what happened in Facebook is Abu is bothering Yacoba start commenting. And then I get in there, I start answering some questions. I get accused of not answering the questions. Even Yacoba answered Tyvon's question in the chat that he said in the video yesterday that he didn't answer. He specifically outlined that. Okay, so from context, this is the history. We weren't trying to engage in this conversation. If you want to have a haplogroup discussion and you believe in it, then fine. That's called building. But when you got some people who say, I don't believe it's valid in this context, why do you want my opinion? But we're going to do it now. We're going to answer those questions. We're going to give Orthodox Moore the answers to every question he has. Okay, but let's see.
One thing I want to add. Okay, remember, we were out, right? We were out. You didn't hear us talk about DNA for 2 years, right? Because we said we don't believe in it. We done, right? Don't ask us. We told some of y'all follow us. Y'all know we said that. I told Abu, we done. We don't deal with DNA anymore. We only believe in the curses, right? Abu want to harass me for 2 effing years. 2 years that nigga was chasing me down. I'm telling him, Abu, look, all I believe in is the curses to identify Israel. He don't let it go. So what happens? He go on Berean TV and then he want to misrepresent our position. So once you bring my name up, once you misrepresent me, I got to confront. Okay.
And that's a good point.
He lucky I didn't do what I could have done, right? Which would become a candy man. I could do that easy, right? I could do that because you know me, but I pulled back. Now see with Brother Tyvon, he is real. I'm not going to mess with him because he is real. But I do think, Brother Tyvon, that you jumped into something that you wasn't invited to, because when we went to the YouTube channel and we invited you to that discussion, it was because you were part of the people who came on the panel to ask us questions. So we invited you to share that email with you all, right? We wasn't really using it as a source per se. We just wanted you all to understand part of our position because, some of y'all talk about the cats and the hidden scholars and stuff. No, we're not hiding nothing. We just don't want to be in it, right? We don't want to be part of the circus where people start going around, calling up the guy, asking him these questions and all these things, right? We didn't want to be a part of that because guess what? We don't care.
Right. And I want to add concerning Abu's tactics, right? We as Yacoba said, 2 years, he told this guy no. So what he does, since he doesn't get the answers he wants, he uses Berean to pull us in by pulling up our video and then making incorrect statements about our position, which pulled me in to go and comment. I hadn't been talking about haplogroups for 2 years. And then on top of it, Berean's how he does, he pulls in Genesis 49 and Tavon on top of my discussion with Abu. So now I'm dealing with 4 people, because Berean interjecting. I'm dealing with 4 people by myself, and I hadn't dealt with this topic in 2 years. So we can get to this topic, but Minister Yacoba, you can continue. Oh, I wanted to say this. Now, Tavon, you could have sent me an email, both of us an email, and you would have got the answers to every question. But this calling us out on YouTube, challenging us and posturing, I don't think that was the way to do it. I don't think you would have had a problem getting an answer from us. The only person who has a problem getting an answer from us is Abu. you could have hit us up just like you did the first time. The first time when you invited us on your show, you came via email and you say, brothers, I'd like to talk to you about Haplogroup, right? And so that was proper. And you would have got the same positive response. We would have had that dialogue. But like yesterday, man, that was posturing and really confrontational. And I mean, you could have got those answers.
Oh, okay. So just to be clear, about what they're talking about in terms of Abu harassing them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. My public position has been since day one for Dante or for anyone else that does not want to deal with the urban apologist or anybody else from that side, et cetera, that they don't have to. And that I tell people that, you know what I'm saying, that you guys are not obligated to give them an answer. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate y'all dealing with me because I am Israel, et cetera. And to be clear, when you tagged me in that YouTube post, I did respond really quickly, and I asked for a conversation, of which I still got no response.
When I gave you that post, that was to give you information to share that came out of the Berean show. That was not to have a DNA discussion if we don't talk DNA when we don't believe it, right? So this was information that you may not have had, right? So I was sharing that with you. I say, look, okay, here's some information that you guys may not have considered. I'm sharing this with you just so you can understand this came from a person with the ISOGG, and you may find this useful in your studies. That's the purpose of it. I was putting it, I included you out of respect. That was it.
Okay, I appreciate the respect. So just to be clear, are you saying that I did not reply in that same thread and ask for a conversation respectfully?
I'm saying you could have came and said, here's the list of questions. You wanted me to come on your show. What I'm telling you is I would have answered your questions in email.
So we've had a public conversation on this before, correct?
Of course.
Are you saying there was an issue for me asking for a public conversation this time, or
there wasn't an issue with you asking? What I'm saying is we were willing to have the conversation via email. I don't feel like we have to, we're obligated to come on anyone's program to defend ourselves, right? If we're going to dialogue, we break bread, we build, we have a conversation behind the scenes. And then, if you want, then, if that worked out, you could say, well, hey, I like the conversation where it's going. Maybe y'all want to come on my show, like that. The way you did it, I felt like you were just calling me out.
And here's the other thing, right? At that time, we weren't doing no more discussions on DNA. Go look at our channel. We never brought it up again, right? They brought up the concept of DNA. Abu is the one that brought up this topic and brought us in by being a little B and trying to sneak around to get us to talk to him on Berean TV. So he went there, since he couldn't get me to answer his questions on Facebook, he went on Berean to misrepresent our position because he knew we're not going to let you lie on us, right? So that's how all of this started. So when we offered the information to you, Orthodox, and you asked that question, here's the thing. As Minister Teo say, look, one, we ain't got to accept the offer, but two, you all don't realize that wasn't even enough time to respond, okay? But that was only a few days ago. Nobody usually responds. The only reason we respond to Tavon this quick is because he brought us up last night and he misrepresented us last night, right? So as we said, if you misrepresent me, I'm gonna come. Okay, if you lie on me, I'm gonna come. Okay, just like Abu got that smoke because Abu lied. Okay, Abu got that smoke because Abu always hunt me down like a little woman. Okay, so my whole point was, and I told Abu this, that I don't talk DNA. Some of y'all remember listening to the last show that we did where I said we no longer talking about DNA. Okay, so that whole thing is all Abu's fault.
And here's the thing. Look, I don't know what your relationship is with Abu, right? I don't know how far y'all go back, what's going on. All I know is my observations of Abu and his methodology on how he attacked Pastor Kelly in the pews. It was nefarious with an agenda. Okay, and in my opinion, I see Abu as, and this is my opinion. Don't get on me. I have a right to have an opinion. It's my opinion that he's a Jesuit. Okay, because when he got involved in the Israelite community, he all he did was position himself to pull on the threads of the teachings that Pastor Kelly and them had on the pews, and he just pulled on the thread. He never took a position to say, well, maybe this is Hebrew, maybe. And his goal was to undermine that whole thing. Now, Jacob and I, when it came to the pews, we didn't care. We weren't interested. Now, after Benya and Kelly and them put some videos out, it was intriguing. Okay, but prior to that, we had no stake in it. The only thing happened was Brown invited us on to show us something, and then that was it. We had no stake in the game. All right, so I'm saying Abu's methodology, even when he's dealing with haplogroups, is really to attack and undermine the Israelite community. We're not foolish. We can see this, and this is why we don't have anything to do with that guy. It's obvious, just like he manipulated Berean into attacking us. Berean should have said, look, Abu want to talk about y'all. I'm going to let y'all know, do y'all want to come on? That's what Berean should have did, but he let Abu use him.
Oh, okay. So just to be clear, at this juncture, if we're going to keep talking about Abu, I got to send him the link because he's not here to defend himself.
Well, if you want to talk about haplogroup, we can start doing that right now. Cool. Okay. Cool. And then if you want to interview Abu outside of that, have him on like you invited us on. But you did invite us on to talk about haplogroup. So if you want to do that, we can do that.
Right. Now,
and Abu will be dealt with. So don't even worry about that.
Well, remember, I did tell you ahead of time that we were going to cover what happened the day before, the history. Right. And you said, OK, speak your mind. And that's what we're doing.
Yeah. And I'm letting it be known that if we're going to continue to talk about someone who's not here to defend themselves, I'm going to have to give them the link because I would do the same thing for y'all. But we can, all that's noted. You know what I'm saying? All your issues with the Abu is noted. Yeah, to be clear, I don't have any special relationship with Abu. I have a professional respect for Abu because, as a matter of fact, because of the whole Pew situation. In the whole Pew situation, I was involved with that. I was talking to Pastor Kelly. I was talking to everybody involved. As a matter of fact,
well, let me ask you this.
I'm in the middle of me talking, so I don't.
No, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you good. You good. So we all respectfully disagreed on what was on the pews. Like Pastor Kelly at one point said there could have been Arabic on the pews in terms of a script, and he went around and said at one point that there's no Arabic on the pews or whatever. Abu took an opinion of. That if there was going to be a script on there, it made more sense that it could be Arabic, but he took a position that there was no script on the pews whatsoever. I took the position that again, so Pastor Kelly took the position that there was Soletreo plus also other African scripts. I took the position that there was multiple African scripts, including Arabic, and if there was Hebrew on the pews, it was most likely going to be in Arabic. I did my own independent research and talked to scholars, brought their information out in terms of Soletreo, etc. And the history on that's out there. You know what I'm saying? The history on the cats thing is out there. I was the first person to come out and give Maury Brown a particular way out to deal with that. So there was a falsifiable way to deal with who cats was. And I ought to say like this, like so. If we want to talk about the pews, that's going to be a whole separate show in and of itself because there's a lot of information and details. I don't want to distract from this conversation because it's very important that if you're saying that your position got mischaracterized, it's important that we get it clarified. But to be clear, the whole reason why I jumped on and started asking questions on Berean's channel was because I've talked to y'all about this before. I haven't brought y'all's name up about it since. It's not something we've talked about since. I heard Tayu say something about how haplogroup science was faulty and that autosomal was the way to go if you want to figure things out. At that juncture, I'm hearing a methodology being proposed. I'm hearing that one is no good and another one should be followed. So at that juncture, I'm trying to figure out a workable model for how this works. If in public we're being told that the haplogroup concept should not work. Now, if your position is you don't want to deal with DNA, period, we don't got to have the conversation at all if you don't want to. But if you're going to come out here and talk about like, okay, the haplogroup stuff is faulty, we should be using this method instead, then I think it's viable to ask questions and scrutinize the concept.
Well, I just want to make known that we did answer that in another video. Nobody wants to do that. We've also answered that on Sister E's show. Nobody wants to listen to that. But, you know, people say, no, you didn't answer the question. Well, we did. Okay. But yeah, let's get started on this. Let's talk about DNA.
Right. And don't forget, I mean, you came on a show that Boo manipulated. And when we were only on there to defend our position, we were not on there to have a DNA discussion. We were there to correct his false claims and accusations.
So in both situations, right? Like, so when I was on the show and with the whole YouTube post, nowhere was there any verbal communication that you were only there for the one thing and you did not wish to entertain any other conversation. Just like in the YouTube post, there was no reply saying, you know what, we can do this via email. So to be clear, I'm not a mind reader, fam. I'm not Miss Cleo. You cannot call me no. You feel me?
Look, so, Orthodox, we're not here to deal with you, right? Okay, the whole issue was about Abu. Okay, now I understand you got on there, you had questions and you have valid questions, and that's fine. And that's why we're here today to answer those questions.
Right. And yeah, I wasn't offended with you coming on. All right. But, you know, what Berean tends to do is start letting all these people come on, and then you stand there by yourself defending against 5 people like you're in a fight. That's why I don't go on Berean. Okay. But I mean, I could have had that discussion with you. I will not have that discussion with Abu, but we can get into the DNA and all of that. So, you know, one thing, and I can move into that. One thing I said that was falsely stated on your part was that I never answered the question about percentage. I literally actually said, I don't know. You're correct. I said, this is why I don't follow the haplogroup, you know, or try to use DNA at all for autosomal to prove Israel, because you were saying, yeah, how do you know at what percentage makes up Israel? I said, you're right. I don't know. And that's why we follow the curses. That was my answer. When it came to me saying E to D, I got that backwards, right? But what I was trying to say was how the nomenclature occurred. And my point was accurate, right? So if I can, let me give you a link, and I'll try to share my screen in a second. Let's see where I'm at here. Okay.
So while you're looking that up, to be clear, let me apologize right off rip for that small mischaracterization, because yes, you did say that you didn't know, and what I meant by didn't answer the question was didn't fill in that part of the model. So I apologize for not being more specific there. So if I'm hearing like, this is why I asked, like in my video, I was talking about a workable model, right? So in my head, if autosomal, if there's a percentage cutoff of what makes you one thing or another, that specific aspect needs to be applied, that needs to be worked out in a workable model, right? So if it's not there, then to me it's an unanswered part of the model. So I apologize if it sounds like I'm saying I asked you the question, you didn't say anything back. No. I asked you the question, you said exactly what you said, that you didn't know, right? And so what I'm saying is like that, I'm saying the question is left unanswered with the question mark as to what is the percentage cutoff of what makes somebody an autosomal Israelite or not.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, that's valid from a scientific approach. I mean, and the things you do ask, I'm not saying they're incorrect as far as what you're trying to achieve. All right. Our position was we really weren't trying to have the DNA discussion. We were there to stop Abu from mischaracterizing our position. But so let me just see if I can share this page here right quick.
Hey, real quick then, like, so before we get into this part, then, like, so if Abu mischaracterized your position, what did he mischaracterize? Just so everyone's clear, that brought you on to clarify. Because that I think that would be important for everyone to understand there. Because that was the ball that got the whole thing rolling, that got me on, right? Because you jumped on, which is what got me.
Well, he was saying something similar to you, right? Where he was saying that, you know, they never told us about the paternal and the maternal, and how do you get there? How do you determine who's the paternal, and all these type of questions, right? And so he said that we didn't answer, and we did answer, right? And also, what was it he said? What else? He said something else about the haplogroup and our position on it. I can't remember. Because to be honest with you, I don't listen to Abu like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I think a lot of his questions were the same ones you have. So we're gonna answer that today.
Yeah, but I'm trying to figure out. So tell you, what were you saying that he mischaracterized that got you onto the show? Because you jumped on before I did.
Well, as Jacoba was saying, he was stating, he was mischaracterizing our position on what we believe and accusing us of not giving information as well, right? Being vague. And I'm like, we weren't trying. The issue was we were never trying to have a conversation with Abu, right? And so he's given the impression that, you know, we're out here trying to teach haplogroup and all of this to him, and we're not putting out the information that he needs. I'm like, well, we weren't trying to give you anything.
Yeah, we're not trying to teach DNA, right? And he want us to, you know, confirm our position on DNA. And we like, look, we already told you we believe that the curses identify Israel. Period. Okay. There's no further discussion because we don't think DNA is valid in determining who's Israel. But he wouldn't listen. He keep going back to the paternal maternal. So he, in that sense, he was misrepresenting our position because we kept telling him, and everybody knows, TEOTW Ministries believe that the curses identify Israel. Period.
Okay, so let me ask this one small clarification question so everybody can understand what your position is right now and not get it misunderstood, right? So is it your position that we shouldn't be dealing with DNA at all, or that if we do, we should be dealing with the autosomal concept?
Well, we're saying that, I mean, to be honest, right, we're trying to say who's Jacob, right, and who's not, right? Isn't that the ultimate goal, right? Right? Orthodox?
Yeah, so I'm asking you, like, what method are you saying? Like, do you just deal with the curses, or are you saying don't deal with DNA at all?
Well, I'm going there. I'm saying, isn't the goal as far as our community discussion, the purpose is to identify who is the descendants of Jacob, right?
Sure. I'm not talking about what, I'm talking about how, though.
No,
well, I'm going somewhere.
Trying to get to a meeting of the mind. Come on, let's get with it.
Coming right. Okay, so you agree? You said that's the ultimate goal for the community, correct?
For some of them, yeah.
Okay, what's your goal? Because maybe that's the problem. Is maybe you have a different goal.
So for me, I have a lot of different goals in terms of the DNA and whatnot. So like, I'm about migrations and whatnot. So for instance, like I said in my video, I'm trying to use it to be able to figure out, like, so if, for instance, if Dante wants to figure out if he's the son of a Limba man that got caught up in the slave trade, how does that work out? How do we prove that out? I'm interested in finding out methods to where, like, okay, if we find an ancient dig site that has a multitude of different ancient DNAs or whatever, and we think this is an Israelite site, which people can we identify who's natural Israel and who is the sojourners that came in with them, etc. Like what methods can we use for that, etc. I'm interested in stuff like that, right?
Okay, so as far as identifying who Israel, I agree with you, and this is our point. Our point is that very fact that if you're going to try to identify who is Israel, you first must know that you have an Israelite DNA to compare. It doesn't matter about haplogroup because everything else, everybody is theorizing what is Jacob's haplogroup. And I mean, we don't even know what bones belong to the Israelites. The ancient Israelites, we don't have no samples, right? We don't have Jacob's DNA. We don't have Jacob's DNA that we can compare to. But what we're saying is, if you're really trying to prove who's his descendants, the only way to really identify your family members, because that's what you are if you're a descendant, is autosomal approach, right? To look at the majority of the DNA to identify who you're related to. Haplogroup doesn't really do that. And I think, so what happens is I see the community going on this tangent of this haplogroup theory. And I'm starting to realize when the Bible said, endless genealogy, this is what I'm seeing here, right? Because that's what's happening is there's a lot of conversation that's going nowhere. All right. So I wanted to show this document here, right? You can see it's a government site. And this is what I was trying to say when I was talking about
it up a little bit for the people.
Okay, let me zoom up then. Let's see here.
And while you're doing that, so just to be clear, you are saying that if you're going to use DNA, or it sounds like, so correct me if I'm wrong. It sounds like you're saying if you're going to use DNA, the autosomal route would be the best route to use.
Well, if you got to admit, I've always said the only way to prove who the father is what? Autosomal, right? I've always said that. And so Jacob's our father. So how are we going to prove who our father is, right? It has to be autosomal, right? And there are ways to do that over time, right? I mean, I know, and I guess you'll be asking those questions, so we'll wait for you to get to those questions. But as far as when I was talking about, E to F, right? And I said E to D because I was, I got on at the last minute, hadn't talked about it for years. Mm-hmm. But this is what I was basically trying to say, this highlighted part, right?
Real quick for the people. Hey, so can y'all read that, or does he need to?
Do I need to zoom up some more because it's big on my screen?
If it's okay, shoot me the one. If it needs to zoom, shoot me the two right quick.
I'll try to zoom up anyway. Let me do that.
Okay, you got it.
Does that help?
Yeah, I can read it.
Okay. All right. To devise a nomenclature system at a reasonable scale, we assigned a capital letter to several of the major clades, beginning with the letter A for the haplogroup above the position of the root in figure 1, forget that, and continuing through the alphabet to the letter R. The letter Y was assigned to the most inclusive haplogroup comprising haplogroups A to R. Deciding which clades are to receive the highest labeling level can only be to some extent arbitrary. That was the goal of my statement on Berean, right? All right. That the application of these letters is somewhat arbitrary. The consortium decides how to best arrange these letters and to these haplogroups. That was my point. Okay, that's what I was trying to express here on Berean. And I mean, maybe you guys didn't understand it, but I got a lot of flack. But this is what I was trying to say. Okay. And you can see the URL up here, right? ncbi.nlm.nih.gov.
Would you mind dropping that in the private chat for me?
Sure.
Much appreciated. So just to clarify, on the show, with Berean or whatever, there was a discrepancy as to how the haplogroup tree worked and whatnot. So at one point, you said that D came out of E, and then at one point corrected himself and said that F came out of E.
So what he was saying is, for the nomenclature, right? You got those clades, right? And you got the top level clades like A to T, right? And so when you go from E to F, right, you got to go through the subclass. So there's an algorithm that they have that generates for each of the new subclass that represents a new mutation. At a point, that algorithm runs out of allocations and moves on to a new clade, which is F. And that's what he was talking about. But understand, exactly. On the Berean show, you can't discuss all that in time when people beating you up upside the head.
So on the Berean show, it was Yeshua brought up that F does not come out of E. Do you dispute that or no?
Yes, because look, I'm not saying come out. He's using a technical term. I'm saying the way that clades are assigned. That's a difference.
Now, okay, you got it. Go ahead, Jacoba. Sorry.
The clades are assigned based upon sequential, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, sequentially. But before you get to the next major clade, you go through the subclass based upon an algorithm. And at the end, when you finish that, a new one will go into that new assignment. That new assignment would be the new clade. In this example would have been F. That's what we were saying.
So just to be clear, so if I start with E and I go through all the subclasses of E, you're saying if there's enough mutations, it eventually will have so many mutations that it turns into F?
Based upon the algorithm, because the consortium decides when you go to the next class, major class,
right, based on a major mutation.
Yeah.
And they say this is a major one. They identify a major mutation and they say this deserves its own major clade. That's what I was saying, right? And you can go back to Berean. That's what I was saying.
Okay. So also on Berean's channel, you said that you don't study F and G too much. I tell you from what I understand, from what I recall, is that correct?
I don't study haplogroups at all. That's what we're here for, right? I mean, I don't talk about it. We don't talk about it. We don't believe it is the way to look at who your forefather is.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, personally, for me, right, I believe haplogroups are majorly used for migration of people groups with a common ancestor, right? So like they were talking about E1B1A going here, E1B1B going there. And there's a video by Dr. Jensen that talks about that exact thing and his interpretation of the migration patterns of E1B1A, E1B1B, and the intermixture or admixture with some Turkish groups and all these things, right? So, you know, and that's his opinion. And so my whole point is that the whole cladogram, right? The whole tree that we all look at, right? Dealing with the nodes and the subnodes. That's how we look at it in computer programming, right? That when you look at that, it's nothing but a tool, right? The use of haplogroups is a way to group common haplotypes, right? Or similar haplotypes, right? And so when you use that tool, everybody will come up with a different understanding of the results from that tool, just like if you run a report. Okay, so when we talk about the use of haplogroups, we're looking at it from the use standpoint and how they reach their conclusions. We don't take the stance that, okay, well, Professor so-and-so says X, Y, and Z, right? Because every time you read Professor so-and-so's paper on it, he says hypothetical, theoretical, right? So the question is, okay, if it's hypothetical and it's theoretical, how did they reach their conclusion? So sometimes we'll go through and we'll look at the data and say, okay, well, that makes sense or that don't make sense. How did he reach that conclusion? Because that doesn't fit the data. And then they talk about how sometimes the data is already corrupt, especially with ancient DNA. We gave you the email on that, right? So sometimes, and I'm going to show you another post from 23andMe, that there's issues with haplogroups, right? And so the way Israelites have been using it, in our opinion, you can disagree, is incorrect or sometimes incorrect, okay? And so my point is, when you look at things, you need to understand how it works. It's like I said on my post on Facebook. I say, look, don't show me the answer for the calculus equation. Show me how you got there. Right. And that's what we do. Why? Because we're programmers. You all look at what they say and what they say about the migration routes and all this stuff. But one thing y'all don't never add. How big is the sample size? Sometimes these dudes have a sample size as small as 4. And then most of the samples that they got are for Caucasians. Right? Because why? They're Caucasians. So your data affects your interpretation of the haplogroups and its migration patterns, which is why you have so many different theories on the Natufians, the Mashubians, and all these things, right? So that's our point. We looking at the data, y'all not.
As a matter of fact, on this channel, I talk about the sample sizes quite a bit. As a matter of fact, you and I have actually gotten to the exact conversation about sample size on Sister E's show, where I was talking about the concept of us starting or me and a couple of my own people starting our own third-party DNA reading website and whatnot. And then you guys asked me some questions and whatnot. So I said, I didn't want to answer them on air, but I'll let you know. You were asking me like, well, how can you control the sample size? And I said, well, we already have the sample sizes to control. We already have our own raw data we're in control of because we've already done these DNA tests with our other companies and whatnot, right? So I agree with you on the sample sizes concept, right? That they're way too small. And particularly when it comes to Africa, they're way too small of populations to deal with the entirety of the population. Completely agree with that concept. No issue.
Yeah, we like that. We like that. And when you said that day, I was like, this is good news that you have access to someone who's trying to get a larger sample size of Africa so we can really get some good information, right? I was like, this is good, right? So I mean, we didn't have a problem with that, and so. Real
quick, just so I can be clear. So are you saying that haplogroups are good for migration, just not good for descent?
It's good
for me because understand this is Yacoba. For me, I believe it's good for migration and not for descent. And the reason why is when you look at it, think about it. Like they'll classify things as Natufians, Mashubians, and all these things, right? Or the Romans or whatever classification they want to use. But at the same time, in your mind, they're thinking that they're all one homogeneous group of people. And sometimes you might have Romans in there, Turks in there, Israelites in there. You know what I'm saying? And so that classification is subpar as well. right? So because for us, I'm not, at least for me, I don't know about y'all, I'm not worried about the other people. I'm only worried about the Israelites. Now, the question is, how do we define who's an Israelite? Is E1B1A Israelite? Is E1B1B Israelite? Because I'm going to tell you right now, according to Professor Jansen, he said E1B1A and E1B1B are descendants of Ham. That's what he's saying. Now, I wonder why. He has a bias, of course, right? So I'm just saying, when you look at all the information, there's problem. That's our whole point.
Right. And you know, when we brought up Abu mentioned this on Berean, when we brought up the issue where the European person was E1B1A, it's 97% European, right? That is a good example of why haplogroups really can't tell you who's a descendant of Jacob, because the person's overall genetic makeup is European. There's no way, just because he has an E1B1A on his Y chromosome, that he is still to this day a descendant of Jacob, right? He's 97% European.
Jacob's haplogroup.
Well, I'm saying, yeah, that's a hypothetical, right? But we can't make that we can't say, oh, this guy E1B1A, he's a brother, when he's 97% European. And Abu gave his scenario. Like I told Abu, I said, okay, I have a Mercedes. I'm replacing it with Mustang parts. I keep the Mercedes logo on my car. Is it a Mercedes? Right? So, I mean, we're talking only about one single mutation on a Y chromosome. One genetic mutation. What about all the other changes in the genetic mutations that don't match? I mean, ideally, we do need to get a copy of an Israelite DNA, right? Ancient Israelite DNA. That will prove a lot of people's hypothesis or disprove it, right? But until we have that, I mean, we're really playing games with it, in my opinion.
And here's one thing I want to add. A problem that I have with the whole idea of haplogroups and stuff. They're dealing with the Darwinian concept, evolutionary model, hundreds of thousands of years. Well, that don't fit with the Bible, right? Not if you believe that humanity been around for 9 to 6,000 years, right? But they're dealing with hundreds of thousands in terms of that that mutation that they're looking at. If the mutation is not as long, right, then they toss it to the side and they say, well, we're only going with this mutation because it's 100,000 years, right? That's flawed. Now, even, once again, I'm gonna bring up Dr. Jansen. He says that sometimes we don't know if the mutation rate, like let's say for black people versus white people, is shorter. Now, if the mutation rate on that haplogroup on that particular chromosome is shorter, but let's say theorizing, right? White folks are 100,000 years. Well, how does that work? You see what I'm saying? So I'm looking at trying to find Jacob, and Jacob is like, let's say what are you, about 300 BC, something like that, I guess. But we're supposed to be looking 100,000 years in the past.
And that's what I was saying on Berean. I was making the point that we don't know the mutation rate. We don't know the frequency of mutation. So, a lot of these DNAs that we're trying to place as something other than Jacob may very well be Jacob. And it may have been a mutation, right? We can't go by the Darwinian concept, right? We can't. I mean, Abraham wasn't 100,000 years old. And I mean, I think it's important because the consortium, their whole theory is based on a Darwinian model. We can't ignore that, right? It impacts our understanding on how frequent is the mutation, right? We need to nail that down, because there's a problem there if we're trying to find who Jacob's descendants are, but yet your average haplogroup is what, 50,000 to 100,000 years ago.
So this is why I said take time off the table, right? Because so people who cite Dr. Jensen's work, you have a lot of young Earth creationists who are Bible believers who fit the haplogroups into a young Earth model, right? Using Dr. Jensen's work is still, you know what I'm saying? So there's people on both sides, the old Earth and young Earth, who use both models, who cite his work or whatnot, right? So it's not that you can't fit haplogroups into a young Earth model, you know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. Like, go ahead.
But let me ask you a question though. But then how do you find Jacob? You see what I'm saying? Over 100,000 years, you don't have no DNA source that says, okay, this is Jacob's grave. We can compare it to this DNA, right? How do you find Jacob? You can't.
Well, on top of that too, sorry, brother, but on top of that too, you know, you have to factor in the fact that we don't know the mutation rate, right? So let's say we drop the Darwinian model. Let's say we go with a more modern historical.
Are you familiar with the young Earth
right?
creationist? Hold on, just so I understand. Are you familiar with the young Earth creationist stances on the mutation rates?
No, actually, I don't. But I'm just saying, if we do follow that, I'm saying, how do we determine when a mutation on a major clade occurred? Right? I mean, everyone has a theory. That's our point.
So right, so there, just so we're clear, just so you can understand, there are currently young Earth creationists right now who are putting forth scientific models that are falsifiable with predictions, etc., based upon young Earth creation mutation rates, based upon a concept of genetic front loading. You can look in I can send you some stuff in the background about people who are working on it if you want to. So we don't have to get into the weeds here, but there is a young Earth creationist model to where within a 6,000 year period they're fitting all these mutations that we see now in those 6,000 years and they'll say it fits from Adam to now, and they have a whole reason why they deal with it that way. So long story short, they believe that like Adam's DNA was perfect as could be, right? It was genetically front loaded with perfect DNA, and that it degraded over time, right? And so the degradation of the perfect DNA is what we see is our current mutations and whatnot. That's a real short breath on how they talk about it because it's real intricate and whatnot. But there is a young Earth model dealing with mutation rates.
But if you notice in the conversations I've heard with Israelites, it's not on the young Earth creation, and the documentation that they're using is based upon the evolutionary model. So I'm like, unless you know somebody else, because everybody else I heard seem to be using the evolutionary model.
As a matter of fact, the person that you call the lion that is a coward, aka the lion that is of Israel, aka Ibri, he literally works with both models. He puts
the
lion
that's a coward.
Yeah, the guy that you get, y'all got to beef with him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't listen to him.
Yeah, he works with both models.
But here's the thing.
Go ahead.
Just like you expressed just now, right? This is working theory. This is academic, right? Mm-hmm. So we have to make sure when we're teaching people that this is not something that's definitive. And the majority of the people teaching haplogroup is like, this is definitive. And that's why I mentioned on Berean, this is a theoretical science. And I mean, most of the documentation is educated guess, hypotheses, right? And so I think when we do tell our people about these things, they need to know that a lot of this stuff is a hypothesis, just like you said with this new group that's working this new model, right? It's still a hypothesis that they're working out.
So are you saying sex chromosomes are a hypothesis? Or are you saying like tracking them over time is a hypothesis?
Migration patterns, right? I'm like, well, how do you use haplogroups, right? Common ancestor, where they been? Okay, so I'm like, I mean, that question sort of floors me because I don't get it.
Well, because haplogroups, I mean, sex chromosomes is different than what we're talking about, which is haplogroups, right?
How?
I'm about to tell you. Haplogroup.
Real quick, because that's what you're tracking.
For example,
MTD. You're tracking. Go ahead.
For example, Y chromosomes have multiple loci or locations, right, where there are mutations that you can actually study, and you could potentially find a flaw in the modern haplogroup model, right? What happens today is they've identified a few locations where they look for haplogroup mutations, but there are others, right? Because the chromosome is that big. They have only designated certain locations of the Y chromosome and use that to identify where they want to look for a haplogroup. Okay, they don't look at the entire chromosome. All right. So
I'm not saying that they do.
Well, my point being that how can you validate anything with a single mutation when there are actually a lot more mutations on that one sex chromosome?
So we're agreeing that it's a sex chromosome, correct?
Y is, Y. There's two sex chromosomes, X and Y.
Gotcha. Okay. So haplogroups. So am I not tracing that over time, or what do you think I'm tracing with haplogroups? Just so I understand.
Well, unless you're doing a test, a YSTR or autosomal test, right? All you're doing is looking at the fact that there were mutations in their group, and you're following that one mutation or group of mutations on the planet, right? So if you're looking in the Levant, you're looking where that mutation has been in the Levant, which they call a haplogroup or a clade called E or whatever they're talking about.
But mutation on what chromosome? That's what I'm
on
trying
the
to
Y chromosome.
Got you. That's what okay, so we're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, isn't haplogroups on the sex chromosome? I mean, we were
That's
always on the same page.
That's what I said 3 minutes ago, and it was no. So that's what I'm trying
No,
to make clear.
no.
We never said that, bro.
Okay, family, you guys in the comments, did we say that? Did we say that? We didn't even bring up sex chromosomes. We were
I
talking
did.
about,
That's
hold
what I'm
on.
saying. I did.
We were talking
But
about
we never
haplogroups
said
the whole
anything about
time.
sex chromosome.
Okay,
Right.
so okay,
You
hold on. If we're dealing with haplogroups, are we dealing with sex chromosomes or no?
We said yeah from the beginning. That's understood. We actually gave you the answer. I don't know. I mean, you making it sound like we don't think it's on the sex chromosome.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, dude. You got me confused.
Is that
bro.
the accusation? Because
Okay.
no, is that the accusation that we're not talking about sex chromosomes?
So let's keep it clear, right? Like, so I ask questions, I don't make accusations.
Well, ask the question correctly.
The
I was
assertion,
confused.
Yeah,
Ask
I'm just
the
confused.
question correctly. So I'll ask the question the same way I asked it the first two times. When we're dealing with haplogroups, are we dealing with sex chromosomes? Yes or no?
Of course.
Anybody looking at haplogroup know that.
I know
that's
that.
Yes.
That's
Okay,
like asking me. That's like asking me if I'm a basketball player. You play with a ball? I'm like, come on. I mean, that's an insult.
Yeah.
You're insulted by a question?
I'm insulted by that
Okay.
question.
No, hold on. I respect you enough to know that you understand that haplogroups is dealing with X and Y chromosome. I think you should respect us enough to know the difference as well.
Well, okay. So how about instead of you being offended, you recognize that when you answered the question, you didn't give a clear answer that was specific.
No, you didn't ask the question
hold on.
right, bro.
I want the audience to say, did we answer him incorrectly? It was a simple question, and we answered him. Yes or no?
The beautiful thing is,
Audience, yes or no?
This is all recorded.
One,
so if I'm right or you're wrong,
two,
this
if
can
we
be
didn't,
recapped.
audience.
Well,
This
no,
can be recapped.
I want the audience to vote. He simply asked us when we're
Check this
talking
out.
about haplogroup, are we talking about sex chromosomes? And we said, of course. That was the answer.
Okay.
Did we say anything else?
Okay. Someone from the audience, you are more than welcome to come up and clarify this. I'm gonna drop the link.
All we need is a 1 or a 2. You ain't got to come on the panel, but you can if you want.
You can, but yeah, 1 or 2. It's a simple question. This guy out here saying we crying. We ain't crying. Well, you tripping.
Man, when you
Do
see
you
me
understand?
crying, gonna be the last day you hear. It's gonna be the last day you hear you ever see me crying.
I mean, the bottom line, family, that was a bad question, and that's as simple as that.
It's a bad question to get a baseline understanding on something.
You invited us to talk about haplogroups. If you think we're ignorant enough not to understand we're talking about sex chromosomes, then why you invited us on here?
Thank you.
So just to be clear, you're on here saying that F comes out of E, and that's not how haplogroups work.
I didn't say. I said how the clades are assigned. Go back to the fucking shit at the beginning.
How the consortium?
And listen to the thing. Stop lying on us. Dude. You doing?
Well,
you gonna control yourself like a man, my G.
Look, how the consortium makes a decision. That's what was said. Now you're up here twisting things because you're feeling a little funny because you asked a silly question. You asked a silly question. You feel a certain way. You shouldn't have asked that question because it was disrespectful.
You know
it was.
Hey, check this out. I don't feel.
You know it was. You do,
bro. You gonna let me talk on my channel?
Go ahead. You could mute me.
No, I'm not gonna mute you. I'm gonna let you know you're gonna let me talk on my channel. Respect.
Go ahead.
What up, sister? How you doing?
Greetings, sister. Salam.
So real quick. So tell you, are you saying that F comes out of E? Yes or no?
We said how the consortium makes assignments.
This is a yes/no question. This is a yes/no question.
Don't play games. We said how the consortium makes it. We explained
yes, no question.
what we did. This is not a yes no question.
It's exactly what
no,
it
it's
is.
not.
Does
Because
F
we
come out of E? Yes or no?
we already gave you an answer how the consortium makes a decision. That's the point being made, and that's the point we gave.
So the information you gave was incorrect. Do you understand that or no?
It's not. Prove it.
It's on this. It's on the screen. It's been on the screen for the last 20 minutes.
Prove it.
Okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
What's the ancestor of F on the screen?
We didn't say that. We said how the consortium makes an assignment. You're not listening, or you're trying to play games.
Okay.
We told you how the consortium assigns those letters.
What's the haplogroup?
You are playing games.
What's the haplogroup relation to F and E? Do they come out of the same paragroup? Yes or no?
I told you how the assignment's made. That was the point.
Can you answer the question or no?
I'm not going to play games with you. I gave you an answer.
So you're refusing to answer questions, but you came on to answer questions.
Because we answered it, and you're acting like
you're not answering the question. Do you understand that, right? I'm asking you a yes no question, and I'm not going to answer it.
I answered the question.
Okay, so was it a yes or was it a no?
I answered the question.
So does F come out of E or no?
Did you not ask that question? And my brother gave you an answer like 20 minutes ago.
And he said it was F. He said yes. He said yes.
Look, this guy is acting like a boo. He put words in our mouth that we didn't even say. We told you how the consortium makes its decision.
So if you didn't say it,
you are playing games. Yes or no? I gave you my answer.
Is it yes or no? Help me understand.
I didn't. Look,
do you even understand?
Hold on. The issue was how the letters are assigned. That was the issue. How are
the letters assigned, bro?
I told you the consortium makes a decision once the mutation is so large, they reassign these large mutations to another letter.
Got you. So
that was the answer, dude.
So simple question. So
that was the answer.
Are you saying, real quick, bro? Are you saying that E had so many mutations that it eventually turned into F?
I say the subclade of V had mutations that were so large that they assigned to a new letter.
Which was?
I'm not in the consortium. I told you how they do an assignment.
So you said, and your brother said it was F. Are you now? You said it was F or no?
You get my brother back on here. Let him answer you.
Let him jump back on. He jumped off.
You feeling funny about that sex question, aren't you?
Hey, not at all.
Hey y'all, time out. This is E. Now, understand everybody has their own belief system when it comes to DNA. But what I will say, y'all, we are still a community. And the way all of us are going back and forth right now, people are watching us. Y'all know that all of us have our own different viewpoints. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I understand we all have our different viewpoints, but I think right now the way that we're doing this is not good for the community. I'm watching the people in the chat.
Look, as well. Sister E, we out, okay? But this guy is gaslighting us, and he's trying to set us up. We answered his question, and he wants to play games because he asked a dumb question. Everybody knows he asked a dumb question, and he's feeling some kind of way.
Okay, y'all, come on now. And I understand. I just caught the tail end of this. When I caught it, I said, wait, hold on, we're arguing. This is not what we need to do as a community. I will say this much. We do not need to do this as a community on a platform where others are watching. I don't agree with everything everybody says, and that's fine. But people are watching right now. We just recently had a conversation a couple of months ago about all of us coming together. And here it is, we're all on a live arguing with each other. How do you think other people see this? Everybody on this panel is a leader. I would consider to be a leader in our community. And now the leaders are arguing.
So, sis, real quick, sis, did I ask an unreasonable question or no? More.
Give me a second, sweetie. Give me a second. Let me say this. Now, we can have these type of intellectual conversations, but now it's getting bad. And I would say we need to stop and have a private conversation, because publicly doing this is not good for the community. Teo and them know that I am an advocate of that, to say we will not slander each other and attack each other in front of everybody. And I don't think we need to do this.
Did I slander Tony and Kobe?
I'm I'm not answering any questions. It's getting ugly up here, though. It's getting ugly, and we got to get to a place where
Okay.
when it gets
So real quick, sister, if you're not going to answer questions, let me talk to you then. So just so we're clear, I reached out to Tay and Yacoba, and they didn't want to do. They came on there saying we should have done this in the emails. Well, I reached out to y'all on the post that y'all tagged me in and asked for the conversation. I got nothing back, right? Then I started getting tagged in Facebook posts in public, right? Nothing back, right? I make the video saying we need to have a good, clean conversation for the public so they understand what's being said. No one's getting mischaracterized, and no one's getting no ad hominems. I brought them up here so they could get clarity. They could give clarity on where they were saying that their position was being mischaracterized.
Well, first and foremost,
hold on real quick. In every situation, what? Go ahead.
I said emotions right now emotions are way too high to even have this type of conversation. I think it needs to allow.
We keep hold on, sis. We keep running into the same situation though. So like Pastor Kelly and Benai didn't want to talk behind closed doors. Tay and Yacoba don't want to talk behind closed doors. So what do you do then? Not have the conversation, but let people talk crazy in the public? No, we got to bring this together and have a calm conversation as adults.
Also, this has been live.
So, hey, sis, if we're not gonna have peace in public, then we can't talk about none of this stuff in public. You feel what I'm saying?
We need to have peace in public. If it means that y'all have
okay, so if we're not gonna talk in private, right?
More. Quick question. Y'all don't ever have a problem by pulling me and say, "E, can we pull this together?" If y'all would have reached out to me, I would have pulled it together. Y'all know I don't have a problem about doing stuff like this.
So Tay, you got at me and said, "Let's do the live." So he didn't get at me. He didn't get at me. Facebook said, "Okay, let's not do live. Let's talk." He said, "Let's do the live." So
why?
So hold on, sis. You're jumping on an hour. Hold on, sis. You're jumping on an hour after the conversation started. We weren't bickering for a whole hour, sis, and there was no bickering. What happened was a simple question got asked, and there was no answers given. And that's what consistently happens in situations where people where they do want to gaslight. No one's above getting a question asked. I put myself out there all the time to answer questions.
And I understand your point more, and I'm not taking sides. I understand your point. Nobody is above being questioned. Nobody. Everybody should get a place where if you have a question, it should be addressed. I wholeheartedly agree with you. My concern is this. Right now, emotions are high.
Okay, we're too grown for that, fam.
Yeah, but sis, you speak to us all the time on different platforms. And you know we're not about destroying or bringing down Israel, but you know when it comes to having discussions about certain topics, and people are having discussions, saying, "I'm sorry, it's noise behind me. Give me a second."
Can I say something, Orthodox Moore?
You got it, fam. Go ahead.
On the private tip, we've already reached out to those brothers to do a private clubhouse with just the people that were involved in the conversation that happened on Berean. Those brothers denied.
Facts.
They didn't want to talk.
100% facts.
But here's my thing. We want to deal with stuff behind closed doors, but the issue not behind closed doors. The issue has already been made public. These brothers have already came out and said we're following faulty science. Our methodology is not right. It's not correct. Yada, yada, yada. That was done publicly. No one came to the table and said, let's get Sister E, let's get everybody and make sure we all on the same page with this. No one says that. So why can't it be dealt with in a public platform? And I don't see anything that Orthodox Moore did anything wrong. He did not antagonize these brothers. He did not gaslight these brothers.
One second, Yeshua. Let me make something very, very clear. I never said Moore was wrong. Let me make that clear. I never said Moore was wrong. And I'm going to say it one more time. Moore was not wrong. My point with this is, one, I did not know that anybody was saying that y'all's points were faulty. But what I will say is, regardless of what's going on, people are watching us. And we have to be very careful in the things that we do in the public. And that's to everybody on here. Do y'all realize how many people I may have beef with in our community? But you know what I do? I would rather for us to settle it behind closed doors. People are watching us.
Yes, they are. And that's why we got to have these conversations. Hold on, real quick. That's why we do have to have these conversations, because we have secret scholars coming out. We have people putting out methodology that can't be challenged because there's special people asking for special pleading. We can't have that in the community. So ain't no one above reproach in this thing. So if we're going to put something, hold on real quick. If we're going to put, if me and Yeshua and other people are going to be told that we're making DNA our religion and being insulted, etc., for asking a question, okay, we got to slow this thing down. We got to really slow it down. And again, I was not being insulting, antagonizing, none of that. So if asking a question makes you offended, fam, you need to get off the public platforms talking. What are you talking about? A question makes you offended?
Not only that, but we will go hard after anybody in Israel, whether it be camps or anybody who put out false doctrine. And we'll do it live. We'll do it live. We'll do it in public. We'll do it. Christian apologists is watching. Listen, Sister E, listen. We respect you and we love you, sis. We love you. You know that. But what we're saying is that this is on the table now and it has to be dealt with. Whether it's Ron Dalton, who we already addressed with his flawed model, and now this. Nobody's being disrespectful. We think that Teo and them brothers is kicked. Them brothers has done kingdom work. They got 100,000 followers. These brothers are really well known in the community. They have brought thousands of people into the walk, into this walk.
Facts.
But when we discover something just like they do, when they discover something that is not right and exact, they address it. And so we're addressing something and we want to have a private conversation, but it doesn't happen. We did the same thing with Ron Dalton. We wanted to have a private conversation and they didn't. We gave that not platform, but we gave that opportunity. Yes, we gave that opportunity. And nobody's, till today, these brothers have put down so much prophecy work that is undeniable. Nobody's doubting that. Undeniable. But this has to be dealt with.
Right. And so real quick, I'm also in a situation where I'm getting tagged and posting that I'm getting caught out for clout chasing. Like I want to be part of the conversation and whatnot, right? So I sat through the whole Richard Katz thing and that was horrible for our community, sis. I'm not doing that again. We all wore egg on our face for that one, right? So that's what I'm saying. I'm not letting hold on real quick. So hold on. So I'm not letting people run amok in the public anymore and act like, no, it's not going to get checked. It's fun to get checked. Sis. And again, hold on real quick. And we're telling you, Cobra, it was brotherly to start off with. There's no beef here. Again, I got no issue with anything. If they can say haplogroups are bunk, that's not an issue. It's not an emotional concept. You don't have to agree with what I believe, etc. What the people need is a clear conversation to where what's being stated is clear, what people believe is clear, so no one's getting mischaracterized. So if I ask a question trying to clarify your position on something and you get offended, hey fam, you're wasting your opportunity to make sure that what you're saying is clear for the people. It ain't got nothing to do with me.
I think with them is when you I think it was an insult and from their standpoint. And I think let me jump on your side for a minute. I think nobody needs to be tagging any of us in these type of conversations, especially when we're dealing with a boo, because we know boo is a touchy subject within our community. So when we have these type of conversations and we tag people in them, especially when we're dealing with a boo, we got to stop that as well. I'm a firm believer. Don't tag anyone in no more posts, because it's getting out of control in our community. We can't control what people do, but what we can do is work together to figure out how can we communicate for the betterment of our community.
Let's keep it real though. If a boo's the boogeyman, I'm worse than he is, right? Like, so if it comes to the pews, I was the only one saying that there is Arabic on the pews. If it comes to DNA, I got these positions before a boo.
More. Let me finish my voice.
May I say something real quick about a boo? And my
when sister's done, you got it.
All right.
You done made me forget my train of thought, dude.
I'm so sorry, sis.
I'm sorry, but I'll give you a minute to get it together.
Yeah, my fault.
I'm sorry, sis.
Y'all keep talking. I'm just like, y'all know how I am about everybody in the community.
Because you love all of us, sis. You love all of us. We all your brothers. We know.
Word is one. Sean, didn't I say last night, you know what I'm saying? We was on Clubhouse or on the stream, and I was like, hey, I need to get a sister so we can all build on her channel. Yeah? Did I not say that one?
We said we was going to do a tour.
And you hit me up last night when I was going to bed or whatnot, and was like, let's do live. So I set it up for today, sis. My initial thought was to get at you and have you moderate the conversation on your channel. When he got at me, I thought we could have the cool conversation.
You came in.
I would that's what I was getting ready to say. I would have rather for you all, when we have these type of heated discussions, I would rather for us to start with, and I'm beginning to get like this with us, a side conversation, get all the arguing and the cussing and the frustration out there, and then we go live. But when we go live with raw emotions and go into the forefront, those emotions are going to show. If it means that y'all have to reach out to me and say, E, we need for you to get Teo, we need you to get whoever on a private Zoom. Can you do this? Y'all know I do it, because y'all know I'm gonna do what I need to do for y'all. But when we go on these platforms, because it's been moments with people in our community that I have been pissed off at. I'm talking about Ron Dalton made me so mad to the point that I was getting ready to do something. But I had to say, because of the community, I have to be very careful. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because I'm driving
Yes,
through
yes.
South. I'm sorry. But I have to be very mindful. So I left it alone and left it sitting right there. But with that being said, I would rather for y'all to start out with these type of conversations behind closed doors, because we got a bigger enemy. We got the urban apologists looking at us. We got the non-Israelite Christian looking at us. And if they see us arguing, we're giving them what they want. That's all I'm saying.
So here's the issue, sis. So I'm gonna put out 4 names again, right? So there's Pastor Kelly. I'll put out 5 names. There's Benaiah. There's Morey Brown. There's Tay and Yacoba. That if I try to have the public or private conversation, it's not happening. So what do we do when the big names don't want to have the private conversation but want to talk publicly?
God.
I agree with you. We gotta stop doing that too as well. As far as, I ain't gonna say we, because I don't consider myself to be a big name, but the bigger names have to do that. Gotta have the side conversations with everyone. If you have a disagreement, I schedule a Zoom. Throw it on me. Say, we'll talk to E and see what he can do. You know, yeah, I do this for a living. Make sure people don't choke each other. But
hold on, but real quick, what can't happen, sis, is people can't get coddled and people can't get protected when there's damage being done in the community over this stuff. Like, so for instance, if we got 5 Israelites in the room, right, and 5 of us disagree, and 4 of us can have a peaceful disagreement, and one of us is wiling out, we gotta work that one out, because asking questions shouldn't make anybody wild out. I can ask Yeshua a bunch of questions on stuff I don't agree with him on. He's not going to wild out, and vice versa, right? Yeah. I don't find any question offensive.
Yeah, I see what your point is. I think with him is when you ask him the question about the haplotype, y'all know I'm not an expert in this, but it's an automatic assumption that it deals with sex. And I think when you ask him the question about the sex, it was like that was never the forefront question. So I think he got a tad bit insulted by it. That's why I think it would have been good for me to moderate it. Y'all just tell me what y'all want to talk about.
I'm gonna say like this because you don't know. So for everyone who does know haplotypes and haplogroups, etc., whatnot, they're making the same basic mistakes on the same basic questions, right? And so again, like I said in my video last night, that nobody is vilifying them because they're making basic mistakes, right? And so they're vilifying people because they don't agree with them. I'm not vilifying them because they're making grade school mistakes on haplogroups.
And that would be offensive to them too, just saying that, grade school mistakes. And it shouldn't be. They should be able to understand what we're trying to say. Nobody's trying to belittle anybody. Listen, I'm a moderator on Teo. I'm probably going to lose my wrench behind this. But the point is that I love these brothers so much. I'm watching these mistakes being made, and I want to sit down at the table with them. I want them to get the understanding, because the same mistakes that they're making is the same mistakes, well, not all of them, that Ron Dalton is making. We do this on a regular. I don't want to be told that I'm using or treating DNA as a religion, because I don't. I take science and I apply it to the Bible. All of us do, because we're all followers and believers first. And so we do that, and we try as a lost people to put this puzzle together. We're trying to put a puzzle together, and we're using every tool. We're using every tool imaginable that's coming to us that we have knowledge of, and we use it to edify the people.
I'm gonna tell y'all something. Look at the chat right now. I want everybody to look at the chat. Tell me what y'all see. Everybody's arguing amongst each other in the chat.
Con.
Who's won?
Teo
Who's
said
won
he
it?
didn't make a mistake.
But your shoe.
Okay.
Stop.
Yes. No. Your shoe.
Listen, no.
Sorry. No. Hold on, sis. Real quick. Like so. Hold on,
You let me
sis. Hold on. Give me.
Oh my God.
Hey, sis, you need that mutant. You got that unmutant spirit. We got to do you like on
Yeah.
Maria.
So real quick,
I'm
sis.
messing with you, sis. Stop messing.
So I brought them up here to make sure that no one mischaracterized their position, that it was completely understood from top to bottom, right? And so we got to the part to where I was trying to explain to them to where the haplogroup stuff is getting mischaracterized. And so that's where it started getting touchy. It's just clarifying both positions. Sis.
I understand your point, but I'm gonna ask you this: what did we gain out of this? Look at the chat. That's what I'm trying to get y'all to do. Look at this chat right now.
What could we have gained out of this? We could have hold on real quick. We could have gained an adult conversation to where we could recognize, you know what? There's two different perceptions on two different methods that could work. If they're gonna come out and say haplogroup science is faulty, then we are owed a conversation as to why it is. Because if we're all family, why I don't, if you think something's bad for me, you should really explain it to me. Particularly if I'm asking you to explain it to me, right? You can't just tell me, oh, it's bad, leave it alone. Like, I need to know what's better, et cetera.
And kind of be open to why, we feel that it's not bad to us.
And this is why it's relevant, sis, because I was on your, real quick, Sean, and this is why it's relevant, sis, because I was on your channel with Tutor Parfit and Cohen Hamadisha, and Tutor Parfit's telling us that we need to do more DNA collects. I'm asking him questions about other migrations. He said, yes, we need to go test those migrations as well, right? So we're testing those migrations based upon haplogroups and whatnot, right? The same science that Teo and Yacob are challenging, right? So if I'm going to be out here doing work in that community on that level or whatnot, we got to be on the same page as to, okay, if you don't agree with it, okay, we can respectfully disagree about the whole thing, right? Because I'm still going to try to do work on that to prove our thing as a group. So if I prove something with haplogroups, it doesn't disprove Teo and Yacob, it proves all of us as Israelites. And if they find something to where like the autosomal method works better than the haplogroups, that works better for us too. Hence, we need to understand the method. Hence, it's okay. You know what? I can put my method down right now. I can hear about yours. I got an empty cup. Teach me. But also at the same point in time, I'm gonna let you know, okay, this is what you got wrong when you were describing the haplogroup thing. As family, we should be able to have that conversation. And if we can't have it in public or private, then what are we doing?
Indoctrination.
So
I'm not gonna bite my tongue on that. That's what we're doing, indoctrination.
God, I would like to hear what your shoe master say.
I'm sorry, I'll be quiet.
I just want to say the approach that these brothers, can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
The approach that these brothers are trying to use is indoctrination, where you can't be questioned. No one can call you out on it. I heard the statement during the show. I felt like you were calling me out. What's wrong with being called out? What's wrong with scrutiny? I get scrutinized all the time. Are these guys above reproach? Are these guys above correction? I get corrected, reproach all the time. I accept all that, and I stand on my swear. You guys got to learn that. You can't be like a religious zealot where everything you say cannot be challenged, and that's the issue. And especially when you're going on live platforms like Berean and saying that we are the ones that don't research, we are the ones with faulty methodology, and we are the ones that are not doing the study and research and they're analytical. If you're doing these things, you should know basic stuff. You shouldn't make basic mistakes. You should know that F does not come from E. Mutation accumulation does not lead to F. It's a separate, distinct branch. You should know stuff like that. You should know when someone asks you a question about haplogroups, you are dealing with sex chromosomes, because what determines haplogroups? Sex chromosomes. So when you make the statement as if you do know, and this is why I tell my guys, don't be a know-it-all, be a show-it-all. Be able to display your argument, not just say your argument. The reason why these guys were getting upset is because Orthodox Moore was trying to get them to exemplify their position and demonstrate their position. Demonstration always beats conversation at the end of the day. That's what it does. And since they cannot do that and cannot be questioned on where they err, they got mad and upset. Orthodox Moore didn't do any of that. He asked straightforward questions, and it revealed that they did not know as much as they think about the subject. You can't get upset at that. Do better. Go study. Get more information on it. If not, you feel like you can just go around saying anything, that's indoctrination. If you can't validate your points and exemplify your points, you are dealing with indoctrination, not education. And I yield.
Okay, can I address you, Yeshua?
Go ahead. You got the floor, sis.
Go right ahead.
Okay, so I understand your point. And I think what's going on right now is everybody has a point to say that I've done my research and not necessarily I should be respected, but we do need to have a conversation about what is considered to be valid and what's invalid. I don't have a problem with that. And let me make this clear, because somebody in the chat is like, she is cloud chasing. First and foremost, I don't have to cloud chase. Let's make this very clear. I don't do that. But what I do,
You're on the platform with us, so we're not paying attention to none of them down there.
But-
You up here with us.
Yeah,
So
she
you
giving me
speak
light
to
right
us.
now. Her platform's bigger than my family. She ain't cloud
Yeah,
chasing.
you
giving me light
speak
right
to
now.
this. You know who you are.
But the thing is, I see my brothers arguing. That's what I don't want to see. I feel like that where it was about to go, it was getting ugly. That's why I hopped up here.
No, it's
I'm
already
protective
ugly.
about my community. If I'm protective about my community, that's fine. I'll take a hit for that. I'm protective about my community. Would I rather for you all
I
to
love you
have
for that.
scholarly conversations behind closed doors so that we can get the emotions off the table and be able to have a good conversation? Yes, I would rather for us to do that first.
So
Because,
what's the
again,
reprimand for people? Real quick though. So what's the reprimand for people who
what you
don't
mean?
do it?
Then
What's
I
the
don't know.
accountability for the people who don't do it, sis? Because real quick, so what is it? What do our scrolls say to do? I'm gonna come to you in private, and then what?
If you don't come into, if somebody doesn't respond to you in private, then I would say you do have to teach. I mean, you do have to teach that the truth in it. You get what I'm saying? But I don't like the fact that we're calling each other's names out. If you don't agree with them, just say, I don't agree, but this is what I see. What I see is, and again, I'm not taking sides. I'm not taking sides. If they don't respond to you, reach out to me. I call them and say, hey, y'all, we need to have this conversation.
This isn't about an agree
agree.
disagree. This isn't about agree disagree. Because again, I can put my beliefs to the side on anything and just hear somebody out. That's not an issue. Again, for the first hour, I'm just listening.
Yeah, it's not that simple. It's not that simple. Not where this is gone. You know, nobody's aligning with Abu. I don't trust Abu. I don't trust him. But when I hear truth,
that's what I'm saying. That's another thing. Like, so Abu was talking about DNA after us. Like,
right.
Abu wasn't talking about DNA before Yeshua or before me or before Tate. You know what I'm saying? That he's a Johnny come maybe to the conversation, right? So we can leave Abu out of it, right?
Right. Well, hold on. Wait. I just want to make a quick point. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to.
You got it, King. Go ahead. You got it, King. Go ahead.
I just want to say something real quick. I don't trust Abu. Abu knows that. All since this started, even before Teo, when he was coming to Yeshua's channel and he asked a question and he was asking certain questions, you know, he was already to me antagonizing a situation. But what happened was he sat down with Moore and they had a dialogue, and there were certain things that he could not deny. So even though I don't trust Abu, I stand on the side of truth. And for once I heard him stand on the side of truth. And I reached out to him and I told him, listen, I don't trust you. He'll tell you, I don't trust you. But for once, what happened during this DNA thing, this is before Teo. This is before all of this. What happened, excuse me, your stance now, it's duly noted. I see you standing on truth, and it's duly noted because I'm used to him siding with a certain group of people. But that doesn't mean I trust him now. It just means that I'm standing on the side of truth, and he said something truthful. I yield.
Facts. So TEOTW Ministries extended is on the screen saying sometimes it is the way you say a thing and not what you said. Orthodox was dishonest. So
no, I'm not gonna say that because I know you more. I know you more, and I know you.
Right.
I've had conversations with you. Me and you have multiple phone. You used to have multiple phone conversations. Everybody got busy. I don't think it's that, and that's why I think that if I could help, you know, reach out to me because I could be able to say I know more. More is not being dishonest. More is just inquisitive. He wants to know what do you mean? Explain your point. You need an explanation. You need to.
I want our people to have the explanation. Because I can make my own assessment off of what I hear.
Correct. And you want the framework. I understand that. And I respect that about you. I would say I would have been able to, I hope I could have helped a little bit more to say, hey, Teo, look, he just wants to know, let's have a private conversation. I've done that before with Teo, and they usually cool with it. Why, I don't know, but maybe, you know, if it would have been something I could have helped with, just let me help sometimes. That's all I'm asking. I'm not trying to say
we spoke about you last night, sister. Last night we said we was going to go on full tour on about 4 different channels, and your channel was at the top of this discussion. Am I right, More?
Facts. And I was the one saying that your channel is the one where it needed to happen.
Right. And just to reiterate that More is not a dishonest person. If you can have somebody like Sister Cherry, Cherry say that More is a stand-up brother, then, I mean, and it's not that we trust Cherry, it's just a bare fact that if she could come off of her soapbox and say that, then we know. All right. This is not about, you know, we don't want to slander anybody, because we're not slandering Teo and Teo and Yakova. We're not doing that. We love those brothers. They bring a lot to the table. You know, their platform is rocking before all of us. We love them brothers. They kingdom workers. But when you start saying certain things, and you know, nobody's above reproach, like Yeshua said, nobody's above reproach. We have to correct each other. Yes, we should be doing it backstage or in a private manner. But what happens when you try to reach out to brothers that they don't want to do it that way? And they keep going forward in a public, and they keep going forward in a public manner. They keep going forward in a public manner. I
agree. And if that's the case, then it needs to stop. You know, and I agree that if you all have attempted to do a private conversation and it leads to this, I mean, it has to stop. You know, I love my brother's Teo. If they did that, I'm be like, y'all don't do that. Let's have a private conversation. Let's not do this publicly, because people feed off of that. So again, that's why I said I'm not up here bashing More. More knows that's my brother. I love him. More is just gonna ask those questions.
So let's do it like this. Let's do it like this. I would love to go on your platform and finish this conversation with Teo and Yakova. And I'm gonna put this out here publicly. I would love to go on your platform and talk with Dr. Kelly and with Benaya and Maury Brown about the pews and get that all squashed, right? I got no issue squashing all that information, right? But we have to be able to recognize, you know what? As adults, we got to be accountable to each other. We got to be accountable to the nation we say we're a part of, right? We're not, nobody's above reproach.
To repent. I'm sorry, people got to be willing to repent.
Facts.
Brothers got to be willing to repent for, I don't care how big your platform is or how small your platform is.
Facts.
You got to be willing to repent for whatever you put out there that may have stained our community or may have marred us. You have to be able to repent and just let it go. We're going to forgive you. We belong to each other. All we got is us. But we can't have, just like we'll go after the camps, just like we always on the camps, and we do it live, we don't care how we do it, then why won't we do it with each other if we're not willing to sit down and reason in a private manner?
I agree. And if y'all would have reached out, I would say this, if y'all would have reached out to me and said, E, can you set up something with me and Yakova? Y'all know I would have said, okay, that's fine. Let me go ahead and set it up.
You were going to be my first phone call this morning, sis.
You should have made me your first phone
call. Like I said,
tell
you got to be before I got to bed. You know what I'm saying?
That is too funny. But I mean, because then it would have been like, hey, y'all, chill out, cooler heads prevail. Let's sit and have a side conversation. But I understand that if you are teaching something that's in error, yeah, we need to discuss it. If it means privately, if you don't want to do it privately, then you proceed with the public. I don't knock that. But I would have rather hoped that someone would have said, E, can you help us? Because y'all know I'm always willing to help, especially when it comes to our community. Because I have nothing but love for every single person on this panel, because everybody has put in work. Everybody has put in work.
Exactly.
And I'm not going to take anything away from what you're doing, more Sean's doing, your Shoe's doing, Teo and them are doing. Everybody's putting in work. But we still, and I admit it, we still got to be adults and come to the table. Now, I have been thinking about doing private conversations on a Zoom with all of us. I have really been contemplating doing that, but it's just people get in their feelings and don't want to do it. So understand that this makes me want to do this even more now, because I need all of us to iron out our issues and be able to publicly do something. Because again, as long as we're divided, they're winning. But the moment we unify, that's a problem. Because one thing Berean said, that he said when I was on the panel, he said one thing Israel gonna do, they gonna come together. And that's what hurts individuals that try to attack Israel, because Israel knows how to come together. So don't worry about it, y'all. I'm gonna get ready to do some private where all of us can talk, because we got to iron these differences out, especially with the cats. I'm not opposed. The cats thing pissed me off more than anybody, and I think that needs to be addressed as well.
Right, because the same situation is happening. Like, so if I try to, like, if people, not me, ain't no one coming to me crazy. So if people try to address the cats thing, they're gonna go, oh, well, you're supporting a boo and blah blah. That's why I said check this out. If a boo's the bad guy, I'm way worse than a boo, because I took harder stances than a boo took, and I'm going to continue to, because this is my community. You feel what I'm saying? We need to be held accountable. We need to hold each other accountable. If I say something crazy, y'all please better get at me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I'm part of a crew of people that do that. If we say something crazy, we do yank each other by the coat. Like, no, we got to talk about that, fam. We got to deal with that, and we got to deal with this in the public. We got to apologize in the public, etc. You know what I'm saying? That's how we get down. And as Israel, we have rules, family. If we're going to raise our hand and say that we're Israel, we can't just do whatever we want to. We can't act like we have the Christian liberty that some people talk about, like we can just go do whatever. No, fam. We got rules that if we don't follow, we get held to account for. And some of this is like, how do we talk in private? How do we talk in public? So I don't feel like my brother sinned against me just because we disagree on something, right? But if for me asking a question, I'm making religion, DNA my religion, or for me asking a question, I'm being dishonest. Now that's an issue, right? Now, see, this is an issue that happened in the public. So I'm not. So check it. I'm not personally offended by any of those accusations. I'm offended that we can't have a conversation for the people.
Correct. I agree.
Because if we're going to be in front of the people saying that these things are true or not true, we need to correct this for the people, or bring them to proper understanding on things, like I was trying to do for them. I gave them the respect of, let's walk through what you're saying got mischaracterized, because I don't want you to get mischaracterized. More interviews, everybody on their positions, every Christians, Israelites, it doesn't matter. So everyone can get their position clearly put out there.
Yep.
I interviewed them before on this same exact topic. And I'm asking questions that I have from that first interview. You understand what I'm saying?
Yep, I agree. I think you have a platform that's very non-biased when it comes to conversations, because we ask those hard questions. Facts. I just look at everybody on this panel as being leaders, and when I saw that, I was like, wait, we're leaders. We shouldn't be, and going off on each other. Even when Yacoba lost his temper, I'm like, wait, Yacoba, you're a leader. You can't do that. You can't.
And as leaders, we can't.
We're supposed to be able to have a council. We should be able to come together and have a council, but once somebody keeps going public, and we're trying to pull them in, like, yo, let's talk. Come over here. Let's talk. And they don't want to do it. What are we supposed to do? What's the other recourse? Because if in the matter, at the same time, it's being put out there that this is wrong, that's wrong, this is wrong, that's wrong. It's a religion. Like, hold on, wait a minute, slow down. Let's have a discussion. Like Moore said, let's slow down. Let's have a discussion. Let's build. Let's talk about this.
Okay, you're cutting out, sis.
Of Jerusalem. I'm sorry. Can y'all hear me better now?
I can hear you now. You turned to the Matrix for a second.
Yeah,
we hear you now.
That's funny. But I'm gonna see if I can get either Dante or myself. I'm gonna schedule a meeting, and y'all hold that on me now. I'm gonna schedule a meeting with everybody. Whoever comes, they're part of the council. If you don't come, you're not a part of the council. And I'm gonna send a mass invite, and that's gonna be everybody in our community that have been, that have YouTubes and have a face. And we're going to sit down and we're going to talk. And council should be able to say yay or nay. Nope, that was incorrect, and be able to correct. Because I'm not beyond correction. If you correct me, okay, I'm good. Let me go fix it. But I think we need to do that. And that will be something that I will work on. And I will put that on me to build a council so all of us can come together and have these private conversations. So I'll take that one as my action item. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, yes, card. Understood. We could do that. If you could set that up, then, I'm sure people will come to the table. But in the meantime, there's some things that need to be straightened out. But I'm gonna leave it at that. We get ready to do a live over at Sister Shari's channel. Discuss it again. DNA, and just we have to. This discussion is going to go on because we got to correct some errors. And I say shalom. I'm gonna deal with everybody in Torah. I'm gonna deal with Teo in Torah. I'm gonna deal with everybody who I disagree with in Torah. I'm gonna walk with you. That I come to you with shalom. I come to you in peace, and I'm gonna deal with you in peace. And I will walk away from you, in peace. Reading and walking away. I'm gonna deal with you in Torah. I have no qualms with anybody. I don't want to be, like I told you, I'm a moderator on their channel. I love moderating on their channel. I might lose my wrench behind this, but I'm willing to put it on the line for a real discussion with my brothers.
Yep.
All right?
Yep, I agree.
All right.
And I'm going to say like this, as leaders, we shouldn't be trying to teach people to be followers. Please think about that.
I agree too. Yeah, start reading, study too. When we put stuff out, when stuff is coming out, or a team puts something out, doesn't necessarily have to come just from one person's mouth. But if you see it's a team putting out work, don't take it from. Go and study. Pick up the books. We putting out the sources. We putting out everything. Read it. Read it. We want y'all to be strong. We got to step our game up. Divine Prospect said this some years ago. Israel, step your game up, because these people are constantly, especially on the Christian apologist side, they studying regularly and they studying directly for us, not necessarily for
100%. And that's why this conversation was necessary, because we can't give our people something less than solid, something solid to stand on. We can't give them an unfalsified premise to stand on. We owe our people the truth. We can't give them a fantasy. We owe them the truth. And so when I was a child, I did childish things, right? I'm not a child anymore. I put them things away. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to get emotional because I'm being asked to be told to be accountable to the truth.
Yeah. And the thing is, I think everybody has this stance that because I know Teo says it as well, and y'all say it as well. Do your research. Do your research, but when people come back with the research and not in agreement, we got to also be very not sensitive when people are coming at us and giving correction on what we see, because everybody has a right to their own view. Because I just recently had to say that to someone, that you can't control me. I'm going to say what I got to say, and I'm going to be at peace with it. And it's somebody in my own community, but yet and still, you got to stand on your own square. So I agree with y'all. We don't need anybody following. Do your own research. Do your own research.
Stop going on Berean chat. I'm telling everybody in the chat, or anybody who would listen to this later on down the line after this live is over, stop going on Berean channel and jumping up because he puts the link in the chat and going and speaking, and you're not learned. Stop making us look foolish. Stop it.
And I go up there to protect the community, because I know there are going to be people running up there and they're going to say stuff, and I'm like, wait, hold on, that ain't what we think. So you're right, Sean. If you're not learned, don't get up there. Don't get up there.
Yeah, because on a daily basis, they're making us look foolish. And I'm sorry if I'm saying that and I'm being harsh. Some brothers is up, get up there and then they get caught because these apologists got their thing together. So you better have your thing together. Stop playing with these people.
Correct. That's why this council needs to happen. This council needs to happen simply because of that.
I'm down with the council happening based upon a couple of stipulations, right? Because if it's not based upon Torah, it's going to be a waste of time. It's going to be people protecting the popularity and whatnot, and I could care less to participate in something like that.
It'll be based upon Torah. Y'all now more. I have a question. Have I ever done something that was outside of that, as far as not making sure people do right?
No, I didn't say you were. I said I'd be willing to participate based upon some stipulations.
Correct.
You understand what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying.
I am. You know how I am, for real.
But again, like so on that stipulation, what's the reprimand for people not wanting to have the private conversation?
It's something we may need to talk about in the council. That's not something I can answer right now. Maybe we need to have that sidebar conversation.
And that's why I'm saying, like, so when it's Torah centered, it's real simple. We just go back to the book. It's real simple, man. We don't got to think about it. We just read about it.
Yep.
Thus saith the Lord.
Shalom, family.
All right.
But I appreciate y'all for coming through. Tayi and Koba, I still appreciate y'all for coming through and having the conversation we did have, right? So I'm not against having any conversation in the future. I don't not consider you my brothers. You know what I'm saying? Again, like I said last time in my live, ain't no one calling you Khazars, ain't no one calling you the sons of slavers, and ain't no one saying that you couldn't be the descendants of some Moroccan Jews with Haplogroup G that got caught up into the slave trade. No one's denying it. No one's making any of those accusations. So there's absolutely no reason to have any emotion in the conversation whatsoever. Particularly with me, I'm more European than you. I'm also not E1B1A, etc. So if we can have this conversation with Sister and have it be cool, that's cool. But at the same point in time, I'm also down for, like, when you're saying that you don't believe in DNA, therefore you don't want to participate in DNA conversations. If you don't want to, you don't have to, right? I'm not trying to force you to. But at the same point in time, if you're going to talk about DNA or talk about what I'm saying about DNA or whatever, and you don't want to have the side conversation, just understand it will be addressed publicly and thoroughly at that. Thoroughly at that. So with that, and y'all can say your closing words if you want to.
Yeah, real quick. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, sister. I'm gonna let you to go. So
No, I'm good. I'm just say let's walk in love when we deal with each other. That's all I'm asking. And I'm not saying that didn't happen, but let's just make sure we got cooler heads, because like I said, people are watching us, and that goes for everybody.
Facts.
Everybody, even myself.
Right. 100%.
And nobody's above correction, so I'm good.
Yes. So to be clear, my man says, tell your boy Boo leave my name out his mouth.
That's not my boy.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
so
not my boy.
One, first of all, I've publicly and consistently said, I've said two things. One, I said,
you're my boy.
If I'm going to shoot at somebody scholastically, you're going to know that your name has a scholastic bullet, or there's a bullet with your scholastic name on it, right? I'm going to let you know that right off. I'm shooting at you, fam. So if I'm not saying that, and I'm just asking questions respectfully, just understand I'm not shooting. It feels a lot different when Moore's on the attack. Two, right? Abu is a grown man, right? He was in this community before I got here. He'll be here after I leave, right? I ain't got nothing to do with Abu being here, right? I can tell you this. I engaged Abu on purpose because there were questions he was asking that weren't getting answered. And it actually started changing Abu's perspective because I engaged him on purpose, right? And when I engaged Abu, I said publicly and privately to him, they don't got to answer your questions if they don't want to. They're not obligated to. So if he keeps asking you questions, you can keep not answering them, fam. I'm not responsible for you jumping on a panel where he's asking you questions. That has nothing to do with me. I'm not responsible for getting tagged in posts where I wasn't asked to get tagged in stuff. That has nothing to do with me. But when I do get involved, when I do respond to getting tagged in, etc., whatnot, and I'm respectful, I expect respect in return. If I don't get respect, I'm just gonna politely show you my back. If I get fired, you won't see my hands, fam. So respectfully, fam, I do what I do for the sake of the community. I don't clout chase. I don't promote I don't ask for money. The only time I've ever asked for money on this channel was for Cohen Hamadisha, because he let me know that they were hurt where they were at. Still got no donations for it, right? I'm not in this for that. I'm in this for community building and kingdom building. I'm in this for nation building. So for people who are in it for clout, have your clout, fam. Clout won't build our kingdom. Righteousness will. Us working together based upon righteousness will. If we build the kingdom off clout, that ain't the Most High's kingdom, fam.
I agree. And I will say, Teo, come on, y'all. Y'all got to calm down as well. I want y'all to stop, putting like what y'all doing in the post. Y'all know I love y'all, and y'all know y'all my brothers. Well, y'all are leaders as well. Y'all were at the very beginning of this. And I think when we put this stuff in the comments, we got to stop. So I will say that much. I love y'all, but come on, y'all, calm down. That's all I'm asking.
I appreciate that. We'll leave it there, family.
I want to say one real quick. I was just
Go
going
ahead.
to say
You got it.
something.
You got it.
Shut them up. I'm sorry, boy. Real quick. I want everybody to understand that, and this is how it should be, because this is how I roll. This is how I rock. It's like politics. I don't vote. If I'm Democrat, I don't vote just Democrat. Well, if I was a Republican, I wouldn't vote just, I don't vote party line. Or I vote policy. Policy is how I operate. So if we use that same understanding dealing with truth, I don't care who's putting out truth. That's who I'm going to agree with at that moment. And that's how it should be. You don't do things because you rock with somebody and, it's just, I'm rolling with that party, I'm rolling with this crew, so everything they do is right. No. You have to stand on truth. And with that, I yield.
So, yeah.
No worries. I saw that. I call them later. They probably talk about me now. They mad at me. That's all right. I just want everybody to calm down. Period. If I gotta take it to make people calm down, and then we'll deal with it later.
Yeah. I'm gonna say it like this. I suffer fools poorly, sis. And so this is super childish behavior. So this is like, I can't do anything wrong. And if I did something wrong, it's because you made me do it. Like, tell you, I don't know about y'all, but like, I used to have to go walk to a tree and snack a switch when I got messed up, right? When I crossed the line, I didn't get the chance to not be accountable growing up. Hell, my mother handmade a paddle out of a 2x4. Put a leather strap on the joint and threatened to drill holes in that joint. Like, accountability is part of what we come from. If you're not trying to be accountable, fam, I suggest you don't blow smoke my direction. If you want to be accountable, we can have the most. I'll be your best friend, fam.
Don't start, Maura, please.
No, I mean that. I'll be your best friend.
I know
fam.
you do, bro. I know.
I'll be your best friend. But if you're acting like you can be insulting, but you don't insult anybody, fam, like, we can't have a realistic conversation. You got your head in the clouds. So if you're really going to come on here like you didn't say anything that was abrasive to anybody, cool. We did the same thing over Brand's channel. And you came over here and complained that you're getting jumped on. Go watch the whole video. No one's jumping on you, fam. We're talking one at a time. Real chill and calm. I'm coming at you real calm. Real calm. Like I came at you calm on this live. Because it's not a personal thing, fam. I don't feel like you're attacking me because you don't agree with me, bro. There's a million people that don't. The whole world don't agree with me on everything, fam. The whole world doesn't, fam. It's okay. We're not going to agree on everything. The question is, how can we respectfully disagree on things? That's the whole point of this conversation. How can we respectfully disagree on things and move forward for the nation? Because we're obligated to move forward on what we agree on and then respectfully disagree. If I'm doing something dangerous and I'm not paying attention to people warning me, be disrespectful if you need to. Cool, got you. But if I'm being cool off rip, bro, there's no reason to come at this with emotion. There's none. So if you want to build, cool. If you don't want to build, just don't gaslight, fam. It's not that hard. So for instance, I don't agree with how Benaiah and how Pastor Kelly got down and Maury Brown got down with the pews and whatnot, right? I don't agree with the whole Richard Katz thing. Did you see me doing a million videos on them? No. I don't care about that, bro. It's not about that for me. I could have got a whole bunch of subscribers going in on them if I wanted to, right? It's not about that, fam. It really ain't, fam. I can start talking about about Ashkenazi Jews and all kind of stuff and get my numbers up real fast. It's not about that, fam. If we got the nerve to raise our hand and say that we're Israel right now, we are volunteering for the hardest job in the world. We are volunteering to be the light to the nations. And that starts with us being a light to ourselves. So if we can't have honest conversations like adults, fam, I'm not going to waste my time. If we can talk based upon Torah, cool. If we can't, cool. I'm going to go do my thing. You can go do your thing. I'm not going to disparage you just because we disagree. So I try to give you the platform to let you explain your position on autosomal DNA. I try to give you the platform so you could give out a working model for people, and we couldn't get through the conversation. That's not going to be productive, fam. You're literally the only only people I've invited onto this platform that we couldn't get through the whole conversation. I talked to Elder Mike. I talked to Alton. I've talked to G-Con. I've talked to Kevin G. I've talked to Vocab alone for Christ's sakes. That was the only one that got tested. I don't want to have that same energy with my family. I don't want to have that energy, period. That's the energy we need to heal from right now, that we need to use these scrolls to heal from right now. And like Sean Harris said, y'all done good work in the community. Ain't no one disparaging that, fam. Ain't no one out here saying we need to drag TEOTW Ministries or whatnot because the end of the world ministries are just leading people straight. No, we're out here like, can we have a conversation where we think the information is going past some people? We think you think some stuff's being mischaracterized. We think some stuff's being mischaracterized. So it's okay to have the conversation where things get correctly characterized. But it's not going to work one way, fam. You don't get to come on and say, like, well, I feel some kind of way and I feel this and I feel that, and then get your stuff addressed, but not address the other side. No, it ain't going to work like that, fam. Because you weren't properly characterizing arguments as well. And if you feel like you were, okay, then slow down and listen. And maybe you can understand where people are coming from. And maybe sometimes answering a yes or no question will help the situation. And refusing to answer yes or no questions is not going to help the situation. I'll answer any question you got for me. Anybody. I'm an open book. There's no question I'll say, no, I'm not going to answer that. You can get deep with me, fam. You can get in my closet you want to, but I got nothing to hide. Like with my DNA stuff, I'm the most transparent person in the community. All my DNA information is out there from all kind of different websites. Every DNA test I took, like my GEDmatch stuff, all that type of stuff. The different third-party sites I went to, it's all out there. Challenge it if you want to. Tell me I'm some kind of half-breed Jesuit trying to take over the thing. Cool. I'd have heard it all, fam. But I promise you, like, I worked really hard to make sure my integrity stays intact for the people, in front of the people. So that in case it ever does get challenged, it's not going to get knocked down. That's why certain people aren't coming at more over the pews in a crazy way. They're not going to gaslight more over the pews. Because my integrity on the situation was at a high level, just like this situation. Our people deserve integrity in these conversations, family. Here, all eyes gaze on us. That's important because we have a job to do with those eyes. We're supposed to lead them to the light of the Most High. Not to hit a subscribe button, not to hit a like button, not to donate to a Cash App, not to hit the share button. None of that type of stuff. We are here to lead the nations of the world to the Most High by being his living example on the earth. And if we can't even accomplish a public conversation based upon the rules of our nation, we got a lot of work to do, fam. This isn't an us them thing about, oh, it's the conscious community or the urban apologists versus us. No, fam. It's us against ourselves, fam. It's us against ourselves. Leave them out of it. What are we doing to clean up our nation? What are we doing to fix it? Because they're not going to do it. Ain't no one else going to do it. It's us. We got to be a light to ourselves first, man. So if Sister E wants to do a council, cool, I'm down. Long as the Torah is at the center of it, right? If it's about protecting people's public image, I could care less. I'm not in it for that. I'm not in it for that. So with that, family, I done bored y'all enough. I appreciate you for your time. I appreciate you for your energy. I appreciate you for your thoughts and your comments. Again, there's no beef, tell you in Yakoba. There's no personal beef, fam. There's no personal beef. If you want to talk like adults, we can talk whenever you want to. Whenever you want to. Sister E has my phone number. You can get it from her if you want to. And we can talk privately and squash whatever. I'm a reasonable dude, fam. I'm real reasonable to the point where I will put down what I believe for a second just to understand what you're talking about. But also understand, if I'm going to do that, I'm going to logically have questions. I'm going to logically have questions. And in truth, I had a lot of questions that were asked on the live last night that still haven't got answered. So if we're not going to answer the questions, just do me the favor. Let leave my name out of it too, bro. Because if you bring me into it, it's going to be the same thing over and over again. So we can either peacefully disagree or we can start beefing and doing all kind of nonsense, right? I can tell you right now, I'm not gonna partake in the nonsense. I'm not about that. I dead topics and move on. But with that, family, like, I'm frustrated that we couldn't get this cleared up for the people. This was a wasted golden opportunity, fam. Wasted golden opportunity. So we could have came from the people and said, you know what, we care about y'all so much that we're going to show you the competing concepts we have, and that we can discuss them in some sense of order and whatnot, to where we can let y'all decide what works best for y'all. This isn't a situation where like, oh, you have to pick one, I have to pick the other. No. Look at the screen. It says haplogroups and autosomal Israel. It doesn't say haplogroups versus. It's not a versus thing, fam. I'm not trying to put my community against each other. I'm trying to dead the fighting. Dead the fighting. I'm trying to stand in the middle of the fight. I'm like, okay, this is what they believe. This is what they believe over there. And this is where I see where they're talking past each other and where I can stop that from happening. Because I've sat down and listened to what they both had to say. Like, we're like, yo, we are back in the old school joints where like our parents are telling us like, yo, you got 2 ears and 1 mouth. Listen twice as much as you talk. That's valuable, fam. We can't just be a community of talking heads that don't listen. If we're just a bunch of talking heads that don't listen, then we are just in this for clout. And you know what? Look at the Bible and tell me what it looked like when Israel was living for clout. Did that work out well for Israel? No, it didn't. That's why we can't be living for clout. We need to be living for the kingdom, fam. Because if we're not doing it for that, we're just playing an elaborate game of dress up. I'm going to say that one more time and then leave it right there. If we're not building for the kingdom and we're doing this for clout, we are just playing an elaborate game of dress up. So please, let's go build the kingdom. With that, family, I say peace and love.
I like the way this feel, yeah. Let my soul cry, yeah. Minister, we gonna speak from the heart on this one. I'm performing lyrical funerals, no obituary. I killed your boy and brought him back to life. Pet cemetery. My anointing not based on attendance at a seminary. Scarlet witches, they attracted to the visionary. Everywhere I go, I bring the word with me, missionary. Soldier drafted in the war machine, military. Pay attention, what I'm saying to you, legendary. You got the demeanor of a front desk secretary. That mean you take the calls, but you don't make the calls. That's why you hate, cause ain't nothing fake about me at all. Now I dare you try to say that with a straight face. My delivery in tip-top great shape. I'm too advanced for you, light years, space age. No evolution for you cavemen, stone age. I'm a thoroughbred, rock solid. I came from the bottom to the top, rock climbing. I grew up in the hood, pros and cons. That's that full court pressure when the ambulance roll out the stretch. Why can't you see it's not logical? And you live diabolical. Boy, your point of view smaller than the hair follicle molecule. This for all of them that follow you, smoking all of them barbecue. When I pull up, your voice don't correct itself with no auto-tune. I got a whole nother level that I can enter whenever I gotta deal with the devil. I pick a whole nother method. I hear a whole lot of yapping. They wanna see my reaction. I'm really out here in the community making it happen. I don't really think they understand the dilemma. They ain't looking at the man in the mirror. I can't say it in the clearer. The plan is very simple. It's time to start playing in the temple. Before somebody come and put the can on your temple. Reaching like a baby with his hand for the nipple. The Grand Reaper coming with his hand on the circle. Hit the van coming with a ram with it. With the van coming get him. I am so glad that I changed up. Made it out of where I came from. Watch for the sliding hook of the slow ball, fastball, and that change up. That ghetto lifestyle, it changed us. Go back to visit, it ain't changed much. Only difference is now the way that my brain process information. And Satan, been after my license day one. Let me say something. Only reason that I'm still alive today because God's grace is amazing. Just another raisin in the sun. Dream deferred when things occurred. Now you getting served right on the curb like a lemonade stand. I just gave you the benediction, let the whole church say amen.